The impact threw Maya off her bike, so hard she tasted blood before she hit the pavement. 1 second she was riding through the empty Portland street. The next a silver SUV materialized from nowhere, and her world exploded into metal and pain and darkness. Her last conscious thought wasn't fear. It was the face of the man stepping out of the vehicle. Tattooed. Calm. Looking at her like he'd just shattered something irreplaceable. Smash the like button because this is about to be absolutely satisfying to watch unfold. Then hit subscribe so you catch every part of this incredible story. Here's exactly what went down. Maya Chen had perfected the art of being overlooked. 18 years of existing in the margins. The scholarship kid at a private school, the black girl in predominantly white spaces, the daughter of a single mother who worked 3 jobs and still sang in the kitchen. Maya learned early that survival meant being careful, being smart, being 3 steps ahead of everyone's low expectations. She rode her bike the way she lived. Deliberately, precisely, scanning for threats most people never saw coming. Except she hadn't seen this coming. The tattooed man crouched beside her broken body. Up close, she could see the ink wasn't decorative. It was a language, symbols crawling up his neck that looked Korean or maybe Chinese. She couldn't tell through the blood in her eyes. His suit probably cost more than her mother's car. "Don't call anyone," he said to the gathering crowd. Not a request. A statement of fact that people simply obeyed. Someone started to protest. "Sir, we need to call. I'll handle this." 3 words that silenced a dozen people. Maya tried to speak, but her mouth filled with copper. The man lifted her, carefully, like she mattered, and carried her to the SUV. His driver already had the door open, engine running. Providence Memorial. Don't stop for anything. That was how Maya Chen met Do-hyun Kane. She wouldn't learn his name for another 6 hours. Wouldn't understand what she'd interrupted for days. Wouldn't discover the truth that would crack her life open like an egg until it was far too late to run. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and something sweeter, almost floral. Maya woke to pain radiating through her left side and a doctor with kind eyes asking questions she couldn't fully process. "Your name, sweetie?" "Maya. Maya Chen." "Good. Can you tell me who to call?" "Parents, family." "My mom." The words came out slurred. "But I don't, my phone." "Your phone didn't survive the accident." Dr. Rivera's voice was gentle, practiced. "Do you remember your mother's number?" Maya recited it automatically, numbers drilled into her head since childhood. Then the question she couldn't stop asking. "The man who brought me. Where is he?" Something flickered across Dr. Rivera's face. "He left. Paid for everything in cash. Wouldn't give us a name or contact information." But that was incomplete truth, because when Dr. Rivera left and Maya was alone with machines beeping their steady rhythm, the door opened, and there he was. Do-hyun Kane, though she still didn't know to call him that. He stood in the doorway the way people stand when they're trying to decide between fight and flight. "You came back," Maya said. "Shouldn't have left." He stepped inside, closed the door with a soft click that felt significant. Up close, without blood in her eyes, she could see he wasn't as old as she'd first thought. Late 40s, maybe, with silver threading through dark hair and eyes that looked tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. "Why didn't you just call an ambulance?" The question hung between them, heavy with implications Maya couldn't name yet. "Because I needed to make sure you were okay." His voice was careful, measured. "Really okay? You don't know me." "No." Something passed over his face. Pain, recognition, something else she couldn't identify. "I don't." Her mother arrived in a hurricane of fear and fury. Lucia Vega swept into the room like weather, pulling Maya into a hug that made her ribs scream. Through the window in the door, Maya watched Do-hyun step back into the hallway, watched him stand there like he was waiting for permission or absolution or something he couldn't name. Then he turned and walked away, and Maya felt the absence like a cold draft. 3 days later, discharged with instructions to rest that she had no intention of following, Maya stood in their small apartment and felt the walls closing in. Her bike was destroyed. Her phone was gone. Her body ached in places she hadn't known could ache. But worse than any of that was the restlessness crawling under her skin, the certainty that something had shifted and she needed to keep pace with it or drown. "I need a new bike," she said. Lucia looked up from the kitchen where she was aggressively chopping vegetables. "You need to rest." "I need to move, or I'm going to lose my mind." "Maya." The doorbell interrupted whatever argument was building. They both went still. Maya wasn't expecting anyone. Lucia's face drained of color like she already knew, already dreaded what was coming. Maya opened the door. Do-hyun Kane stood there with his expensive clothes and his careful eyes and his secrets written in ink up his neck. I wanted to check on you and to apologize properly to your family. Lucia made a sound Maya had never heard before. Something between a gasp and a sob and a scream that got swallowed halfway up her throat. She grabbed the doorframe, knuckles going white. No, Lucia whispered. No, you're dead. They said you were dead. The world tilted sideways and kept tilting. Do-hyun's expression cracked open. Lucia, get away from my daughter. Lucia's voice shook like an earthquake. Get away from us. You're supposed to be dead. Maya looked between them. Her mother's terror, this stranger's guilt, and felt 18 years of carefully constructed reality reveal itself as fiction. Drop a comment right now telling me if you saw that coming, because this is where everything you think you know gets burned to the ground. Subscribe if you want to see how deep this goes. Mom, Maya said carefully, voice steady despite the chaos in her chest. How do you know him? Lucia was crying now, silent tears that spoke of old wounds and older fears. Come inside. If you're going to ruin everything again, at least do it behind closed doors. They sat in the small living room where Maya had grown up. The space suddenly felt like a stage set, something temporary and false. Lucia perched on the edge of the couch like she might need to run. Do-hyun stood by the window, backlit and unreadable. Maya positioned herself between them, though she didn't know who she was protecting or from what. Lucia looked at Do-hyun. You first. Why aren't you dead? Do-hyun didn't flinch, but Maya saw his throat work like he was swallowing something jagged. Because that night, I took an exit that wasn't meant for me. Lucia let out a sound that was almost a laugh, except it held no humor. Don't do that. Don't be poetic. He nodded once. Fine. Facts. He looked at Maya. 18 years ago, I ran the Meridian. People called it a club. It was also a meeting point for men who handled power like it was a weapon. Lucia's hands twisted together. I came to tell you I was pregnant. Maya's breath caught. Lucia stared at the floor like she couldn't afford to look at either of them. I walked into your office. You stood up. I opened my mouth. Then the door came off its hinges. Do-hyun's voice went quieter. It wasn't a random hit. It was a takeover. They wanted me dead, and they wanted everyone to see it. I heard shouting, Lucia said. Guns. You pushed me down behind the desk. You told me not to move. Do-hyun nodded. I hit a panic switch under the desk. Hidden door. Maintenance tunnel. It dumped into the alley 2 blocks away. Lucia's eyes flashed. So you ran. I didn't run, Do-hyun said. His jaw tightened. I left to keep the people I cared about alive, including you, because once they realized you mattered to me, you would have been next. Lucia's voice broke. But they dragged a body out. Do-hyun exhaled. Yes, because I made sure they had one. Maya went very still. Do-hyun didn't look away. A decoy. A man who worked for me. Same height, same build. Tattoos added weeks earlier. He volunteered because his brother was in debt to the wrong people, and they were going to kill him anyway. He chose the manner of his death so his brother could live. Lucia's face crumpled, anger and grief colliding. You used a human being as a costume. Do-hyun's eyes shone, but he didn't blink. I did. I live with it. I paid his family for 18 years. I kept his name off the streets. I kept his brother alive. None of that makes it clean. Lucia's shoulders shook. They said you were dead. They believed it because they needed to believe it, Do-hyun said. A public death ends wars. It stops the scramble. It lets everyone reshape territory without hunting a ghost. Maya's voice came out thin. So you let my mother believe you were dead. Do-hyun looked like she'd struck him. I wanted to come back. I thought about it every day. But if I came back, you and Lucia would have been pulled into a life that eats people. I convinced myself distance was protection. Lucia laughed once sharp. Protection? You don't get to call it that. Do-hyun nodded. You're right. It was fear and guilt and the kind of survival that makes you selfish while you tell yourself it's noble. Maya swallowed. So you are my father. Do-hyun held her gaze. Yes. And you didn't know I existed. I didn't, he said, voice raw. But the moment I saw you on that street, I knew my life had missed something it could never replace. I don't believe you. Maya's voice cracked, fury slicing through every word. I swear on everything, I never knew, he said. If I had, you would have what? Lucia's voice cut like a blade. Walked away from your empire? Left the blood money? Raised a daughter while people were hunting you? I would have tried. He turned to Maya, and she saw desperation in his face. I would have tried to be better. Instead, you faked your death for 18 years, Maya said. Her voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. It was the only way to keep people safe. The only way to stop the war that was coming. Do-hyun's voice dropped. If I was dead, there was no one to fight over. No territory to claim. No revenge to take. I built a new life under new names. Legitimate businesses, clean money, layers between me and what I used to be. 3 weeks ago, I was closing the last door. 3 weeks away from being completely free. And then you hit my daughter with your car, Lucia said bitterly. And then I saw her face, and something in me recognized what I didn't understand yet. Do-hyun looked at Maya. When I looked at you lying in that street, I felt like I'd been searching for something my whole life without knowing what it was. Maya stood abruptly. I need air. She made it to the front porch before her legs gave out. She sat on the steps and tried to breathe through the panic crushing her chest. Everything she knew about herself was fiction. Her father wasn't some deadbeat who'd abandoned them. He was a criminal who'd faked his death and lived in hiding for nearly 2 decades. Her mother wasn't the brave, single parent who'd overcome adversity. She was a woman so terrified she'd built their entire lives on carefully constructed lies. And Maya herself, who was she? The daughter of a ghost? A mistake? A consequence? The door opened behind her. Do-hyun's shadow fell across the steps, but he didn't sit, didn't touch, just stood there like he was giving her space to decide. I know you don't want to hear this right now, he said, but I need you to understand something. The reason I was trying to close that last door, the reason I was so close to being free, was because I wanted to stop being the kind of man who destroys things. I wanted to build instead of break. And then I broke you anyway. You didn't break me. Maya's voice was rough. You just told me the truth. Truth is its own kind of breaking. She looked up at him. What happens now? That depends. He crouched down so they were eye level. I can disappear again. Leave you and Lucio alone. You never have to see me or think about me. You can go back to the life you had. Except I can't, can I? Because now I know. And knowing changes everything. Yes. He held her gaze. It does. What's the other option? The other option is I stay. I try to be what I should have been 18 years ago. But Maya, if I stay, the people who think I'm dead will find out I'm not. And when they do, he stopped. It won't be safe. For any of us. Is that a threat? It's honesty. He pulled a card from his pocket. Take whatever time you need. When you decide, call me. Whatever you choose, I'll respect it. He walked to his SUV and drove away, and Maya sat on the porch holding a business card that read, Kane Consolidated Industries, with a phone number and nothing else. If you're still here, you're invested. Good. Comment below if you think Maya should call him or tell him to stay gone forever. Subscribe if you want to see what she decides. Hit that notification bell if you need to know what happens next. But know this. Whatever she chooses, there's no going back. Maya didn't call for 3 days. She went to school, sat through classes where teachers discussed things that felt irrelevant, avoided her mother's wounded eyes, and pretended the world hadn't revealed itself as quicksand. On the 4th day, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Tell your father to stop, or you'll wish he'd stayed dead. Her blood turned to ice. She called the number on Do-hyun's card. He answered before the first ring finished. They know, Maya said without greeting. Someone just threatened me. Where are you? School. Jefferson High. Stay in public. I'm 8 minutes away. He made it in 6. Maya watched the silver SUV pull up and felt equal parts fear and relief. She climbed in without hesitation. Show me, Do-hyun said. She handed him her phone. His expression went cold and flat. The face of the man Lucia had feared, the man who'd survived 18 years by being harder than his enemies. This changes things, he said quietly. What things? I was trying to dismantle my old organization quietly. Buy out the remaining partners, close the accounts, shut down the operations. Quiet only works if no one's paying attention. He handed back her phone. Someone's paying attention. Because of the accident. Because I've been moving too much money, changing too many contracts. Someone got curious. Started digging. Found connections. He looked at her. Found you. So what do we do? We. He studied her face. Maya, you don't have to be part of this. Someone just threatened me. I'm already part of it. She met his eyes. And if we're doing this, we do it right. No more hiding. No more quiet. We expose everything. Something shifted in his expression. Pride mixed with fear. You sound like me. Then you know I mean it. They drove to a glass tower in downtown Portland. Do-hyun led her through a lobby full of expensive art and expensive people, into an elevator that rose 40 floors, through glass doors that read, Kane Consolidated Industries. The office beyond hummed with quiet power. People stopped working to stare. Do-hyun ignored them all, walking Maya straight to a conference room where 3 people in suits waited. Thank you for coming on short notice, Do-hyun said. The woman, mid-40s, sharp-eyed, perfectly composed, looked at Maya with open curiosity. Is this her? This is my daughter. Maya Chen. The words landed like grenades. Everyone in the room recalculated immediately. One of the men, silver-haired, mid-50s, expensive watch glinting, leaned back in his chair. I was wondering when you'd make it official. Though I have to say, Do-hyun, your timing is spectacularly terrible. My timing, Do-hyun said coldly, is exactly what it needs to be. Richard, I'm accelerating the transition. Full transparency, external audits, regulatory compliance across all divisions. No exceptions. Richard Parsons smiled like a snake. That will cost us millions. And your partners won't be pleased. My partners will accept it or find themselves without positions. Do-hyun pulled out Maya's phone, displayed the threatening message, and slid it across the table. This is what happens when we move slow. People get bold. People make mistakes. So we're moving fast instead. The sharp-eyed woman, Ms. Wu, picked up the phone, read the message, and her expression hardened. Do we know who sent it? We will. Do-hyun looked at each of them in turn. I'm making a public announcement tomorrow. Kane Consolidated is going clean. Full disclosure, new leadership structure, complete break from questionable partnerships. And when I step down, Maya stays. The room exploded. She's a child, Parsons said. She's 18, Do-hyun countered. Legal adult. And she's my heir. She has no experience. No education. No. She has integrity, Do-hyun interrupted. Which is more than I can say for some people in this room. Parsons stood abruptly. You're making a mistake. Then it's my mistake to make. Maya sat silently, absorbing the power dynamics, the hidden tensions, the barely concealed hostility. When Parsons glared at her, she held his gaze until he looked away first. She caught Ms. Wu hiding a smile. When the meeting ended and the executives filed out, Ms. Wu lingered. I like you, she said to Maya. If you survive the next month, you might actually be good at this. I plan to survive, Maya said. Then watch your back. Everyone in this building is terrified right now. Terrified people do dangerous things. She left. Do-hyun turned to Maya. You can still walk away. Stop asking me that. Maya stood. I'm here. I'm staying. Now show me what I need to know. Still watching? Then you're tougher than most. Drop a comment if you think Maya can actually pull this off. Subscribe if you believe 18-year-olds can be more dangerous than middle-aged executives. And turn on notifications because what's coming next will either make you cheer or make you furious. Possibly both. For 2 weeks, Maya lived split. Days at Jefferson High finishing her senior year. Nights in boardrooms and conference calls, absorbing everything she could about Kane Consolidated Industries. Do-hyun didn't coddle her. He showed her everything. The legitimate construction contracts and the shell companies used to hide money, the clean investments and the partners who'd made fortunes through violence. This is what I'm trying to undo, he told her late one night in his office, exhaustion making his accent heavier. But undoing takes time. Evidence. Leverage. What kind of leverage? He pulled up files on his computer. Spreadsheets, contracts, bank transfers. Parsons has been skimming for years. Small amounts, hard to trace, always just under automatic review thresholds. But I've been watching, and I have proof. Why not just fire him? Because he's not working alone. He's connected to people who want me gone. If I fire him without proof, he becomes a martyr. But if I expose him with evidence, he becomes a warning. Maya studied the spreadsheets. You're using him. I'm using him to clean house. Is there a difference? Do-hyun met her eyes. I don't know anymore. That's why I need you. You're not corrupted by this yet. You can still see clearly. Then let me see everything. No filters. He hesitated, then nodded. Everything. What Maya saw in the archived files made her stomach turn. Money laundering through construction projects. Bribes to city officials. payments to people who made problems disappear. And underneath it all, a network stretching back decades to when Do-hyun was someone else entirely. But she also saw the dismantling, the systematic shutdown of illegal operations, the quiet payments to victims, the attempts, however flawed, to repair damage. This is what redemption looks like, Do-hyun said when she confronted him. Messy, incomplete, never enough, but still worth trying. Maya requested access to certain archived contracts and hit resistance. Files were locked. Passwords had been changed. IT looked nervous and told her to talk to Parsons. So she did. She found him in his office. Expensive view, expensive furniture, expensive everything. He smiled when she walked in, but it didn't reach his eyes. Maya, what can I do for you? I need access to the archived contracts from 2018 to 2020. Those files are restricted. I'm requesting unrestricted access. Parsons leaned back in his chair. You remind me of your father. Same stubbornness. Same self-righteousness. But you're missing something he had. Fear. Do-hyun understood that power requires people to be afraid of you. You don't scare anyone yet. I don't want to scare people. I want to understand what's happening in this company. Understanding can be dangerous, especially when you're young and idealistic and think you can fix everything with good intentions. He stood, walked to the window. Let me tell you something about your father. When he ran things the old way, people fell in line because they knew what he was capable of. Now he's trying to be respectable, and all it's done is make him vulnerable. Made him weak. Is that a threat? It's reality. Parsons turned to face her. You're his weakness now. The daughter he never knew he had, suddenly appearing like a miracle. People will use that. Use you to get to him. People like you? His smile widened. I'm trying to help you, Maya. You're in over your head. Your father is making enemies with these changes. Powerful enemies. And when they come for him, they'll come for you too. Unless you walk away now while you still can. Maya held his gaze. Then I guess I'd better learn to swim fast. She walked out, heart pounding, and went straight to Do-hyun's office. Parsons blocked my access. Do-hyun's expression went dark. Did he say why? He said understanding can be dangerous. Maya crossed her arms. What's in those files? Proof. Of everything. His embezzlement, his connections to people who want me dead, his plans to take over once I'm out of the picture. Do-hyun stood. I was waiting until we had legal protection before exposing him. But if he's actively blocking you, then we need to move faster. We need to be smart. Being smart is taking too long. He just threatened me to my face, and you want to wait. Maya's voice rose. Every day we wait is another day he's consolidating power, turning people against us. Do-hyun studied her. What do you want to do? Call his bluff. Request a full audit. External oversight. Force everything into the light. That will cause chaos. The stock will tank. Partners will pull out. We could lose everything. Better to lose everything than keep building on rot. Maya met his eyes. Isn't that what you've been trying to teach me? The only way forward is through. He smiled. Small, proud, sad. You're definitely my daughter. The next morning, Maya walked into a board meeting uninvited. 12 executives in expensive suits turned to stare. Parsons was mid-sentence, presenting quarterly projections. He stopped when he saw her. Maya, this is a closed meeting. Then open it. She sat in an empty chair. Because I have something to say. Do-hyun entered behind her. Let her speak. Parsons' jaw tightened, but he nodded. Maya stood, hands steady despite her racing heart. I'm requesting an independent external audit of all company operations going back 5 years. Full transparency. No restricted files. No exceptions. The room erupted. That's insane. The cost alone. We'll lose investors. Maya waited for the noise to die down. I'd rather lose investors than our integrity. This company has operated in shadows for too long. It's time to prove we're legitimate or admit we're not. Parsons stood slowly. You have no authority to request such a thing. Actually, Ms. Wu said from across the table. As a board member with fiduciary responsibility, I second the motion. If there's nothing to hide, an audit should pose no problem. Other heads nodded. The tide was shifting. Parsons looked at Do-hyun. You're going to let her destroy everything you built. Everything I built was built wrong, Do-hyun said quietly. She's trying to fix it. By burning it to the ground. By exposing the rot before it kills us all. Parsons' expression went cold. You're both making a mistake. A significant one. He walked out. Comment right now if you think Parsons is behind the threats, or if something bigger is coming. Subscribe if you want answers instead of wondering. Hit that like button if you're Team Maya. And turn on notifications because this story is about to take a turn none of you are expecting. The audit began the next day. Forensic accountants descended on Kane consolidated like a swarm, combing through every file, every transaction, every contract. Maya watched Parsons grow increasingly nervous, subtle tells like loosened ties and extra coffee, meetings that ran long and ended with tight expressions. But something felt off. The evidence was mounting against Parsons: embezzlement, fraud, connections to offshore accounts. But the threats hadn't stopped. If anything, they'd escalated. Maya received 3 more messages over the next week, each more specific than the last. Your father's announcement won't save you. Transparency is a weapon that cuts both ways. Ask him about the Meridian fire. Ask him who really died. That last one made her blood run cold. She confronted Do-hyun late one night in his office. What fire? What happened at the Meridian? His expression shuddered. Who told you about that? Does it matter? He was quiet for a long moment. The night I supposedly died, there was more than just the attack. After Lucia ran, after the body was displayed, someone burned the Meridian to the ground. 12 people died. Staff, customers, people who had nothing to do with anything. Maya felt sick. Did you? No. I was gone by then, already in the wind. But the fire was set to cover up evidence, destroy records. I always assumed it was the people who wanted me dead. But recently I've wondered. He trailed off. Wondered what? If maybe I was the target, but not the reason. What if someone wanted to destroy what was in that building, and killing me was just convenient cover? What was in that building? Records. Files. Evidence of decades of corruption, bribery, deals between people who shouldn't have been dealing. Do-hyun rubbed his face. I kept copies, secured them. That's part of what I've been using to dismantle the organization. But if someone knows I have them, then this isn't about you trying to go legitimate, Maya finished. This is about someone trying to make sure those records never surface. They looked at each other as the implications settled between them. Parsons is a symptom, Maya said slowly. Not the disease. Someone bigger. Someone who's been waiting, watching. Do-hyun stood, started pacing. Someone who let me think I was in control while they maneuvered around me. Maya's phone buzzed. Another message. You're getting close. That makes you dangerous. Back off or the next fire won't be a building. She showed Do-hyun. His face went pale. We need to move you, he said immediately. Somewhere safe, somewhere they can't. No. Maya's voice was firm. That's what they want. Scare me off. Isolate you. Make their move while you're distracted protecting me. We don't run. We figure out who's sending these. Maya, I'm not a child you can hide away. I'm your daughter and your partner in this. So stop trying to protect me and start trusting me. He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, together. But we do this smart. They worked through the night, cross-referencing files, tracking connections. Ms. Wu joined them around midnight, having noticed the lights still on. Her sharp eyes scanned their work and she went very still. You're looking at the board, she said quietly. Not the company board, Maya said. The real one. The shadow structure that's been running things underneath. Ms. Wu pulled up a chair. Show me what you found. By dawn, they had a map. Not complete, but enough. A network of people who'd used Kane consolidated as a front for decades. Do-hyun had been a figurehead, powerful but ultimately disposable. When he tried to break free, they'd let him think he was succeeding while actually tightening the net. And at the center of it all was a name Maya recognized. Hendrix Mensa, the hotel magnate who'd been so friendly, so supportive, who'd offered her career opportunities and smiled with warm eyes, who owned half the commercial real estate in Portland and had fingers in every major development project, who'd been at the Meridian the night of the fire. He was a junior partner back then, Do-hyun said, staring at Hendrix's photo. I barely knew him. He was supposed to be at the club that night for a meeting, but he called in sick at the last minute. Convenient, Ms. Wu said dryly. And he's been building his empire quietly while everyone else fought over the scraps of yours, Maya added. Letting you take down your own organization while he consolidated power behind the scenes. Her phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a message, it was a call. Unknown number. Maya answered on speaker. Very good, Maya. Hendrix's voice was pleasant, conversational. You're smarter than I gave you credit for. Most people never look past the obvious threats. What do you want? Do-hyun's voice was cold. What I've always wanted, control without competition. You were supposed to destroy yourself quietly, Do-hyun. Instead, you brought in your daughter and made everything complicated. Hendricks sighed. Now I have to adjust my plans. If you touch her, you'll what? You're not that man anymore. You've spent 18 years trying to be legitimate, trying to clean up. You don't have the infrastructure or the stomach for real violence anymore. That's what makes this so easy. Then what's stopping you? Maya asked. Curiosity. I want to see how far you'll go. How much you'll sacrifice. Your father gave up everything once to survive. Will you do the same? Or will you be stubborn enough to fight, even when fighting is hopeless? The line went dead. Still here? Then you understand. This isn't a story about good guys winning because they deserve to. This is about survival. Subscribe if you want to see how Maya survives this. Hit like if you think she has a chance. Comment with your theory about what happens next. And brace yourself, because the next part is where everything goes sideways. We need to go to the police, Maya said. With what evidence? Ms. Wu shook her head. Everything we have is circumstantial. Connections aren't crimes. And Hendricks has been building relationships with law enforcement for years. Half the city's politicians are in his pocket. Then we go public. Media, press conference, everything. And risk him burning everything down before we can prove anything. Do-hyun slammed his hand on the desk. He's shown he's willing to kill to protect his secrets. Going public without ironclad proof just paints a bigger target. So what do we do? Maya's voice rose. Just wait for him to make his move. We force his hand, Ms. Wu said quietly. But carefully. We need to make him think he's winning while we gather actual evidence. Evidence solid enough that he can't bury it. Over the next week, they orchestrated a careful performance. Do-hyun made a public statement about stepping down earlier than planned, citing health concerns. The stock dipped. Partners grew nervous. Parsons, sensing opportunity, started making moves to consolidate his position, exactly what they wanted. Because while everyone watched Parsons, Maya and Ms. Wu dug deeper. They tracked shell companies, followed money trails, interviewed former employees who'd left Kane consolidated under mysterious circumstances. They built a case piece by piece. And they found something unexpected. The Meridian fire had been investigated as arson, but the investigation had been closed quickly. Too quickly. The lead investigator had retired 6 months later with a suspiciously large pension. And he'd recently been diagnosed with late-stage cancer, the kind that makes people reassess their choices. Maya visited him in hospice. His name was Robert Chen. No relation, but the coincidence felt significant. I wondered if anyone would ever come asking, he said, voice weak but clear. Took longer than I thought. You know why I'm here. The Meridian. That damn fire. He gestured to the folder on his bedside table. I kept copies. Against the day when guilt outweighed fear. Guess today's that day. The folder contained everything. Photos of accelerant patterns that didn't match the official report, witness statements that had been excluded, evidence of tampering. And a name. Hendricks Mensa had paid to have the investigation closed. He killed 12 people to hide his tracks, Robert said. And I let him do it because I was scared and greedy. That's the thing about corruption. It's never just one choice. It's 1,000 small decisions until you don't recognize yourself anymore. Why tell me now? Because I'm dying anyway. And because you look like someone who might actually do something with this. He met her eyes. Don't waste it. Don't let those people have died for nothing. Maya took the folder and left. She sat in her car in the parking lot and cried for people she'd never met, victims of a fire that had shaped her entire life without her knowing it. Then she called Do-hyun. I have it. Physical evidence linking Hendricks to the fire, to the cover-up. Everything we need. Where are you? Coming to you. We need to move fast before. The SUV appeared out of nowhere. Different from Do-hyun's, black, heavily tinted. It pulled alongside her, and Maya saw the window rolling down, saw the gun. She dropped the folder, ducked, and hit the gas. Shots shattered her rear window. She swerved, nearly hit a parked car, kept going. Her phone was on the floor somewhere, the folder scattered across the passenger seat. She grabbed it one-handed, pressed it to her chest, and drove like her life depended on it. Because it did. She made it to Kane Consolidated's parking garage, abandoned her car, and ran for the elevator. Her hands shook so hard she could barely press the button. The doors closed just as she heard footsteps in the garage. Do-hyun was waiting when the elevator opened. He took one look at her face and pulled her into his office, locked the door, closed the blinds. What happened? They shot at me. In broad daylight, they shot at me. Maya's voice shook. I have the evidence. The investigator gave me everything. But they know, Do-hyun. They know I have it. He took the folder, flipped through it quickly, and his expression went dark with fury and something else. Fear. Real fear for maybe the first time since she'd met him. This is enough. This proves everything. He looked at her. But now Hendricks knows you're the threat. He'll come after you directly. Let him come. We have evidence now. We can. Maya, you don't understand. Evidence doesn't matter if you're dead. He's escalated from threats to action. That means he's decided you're more dangerous alive than the consequences of killing you. Ms. Wu burst through the door, phone in hand. We have a problem. Parsons just called an emergency board meeting. He's moving to remove you, Do-hyun, and institute new leadership immediately. Hendricks' distraction play, Maya said. Keep us focused on the board while he eliminates the real threat. We need to split up, Do-hyun said. Ms. Wu, you handle the board meeting, stall as long as you can. Maya, I'm getting you out of here, somewhere safe until. No. Maya's voice was firm. That's what he wants. Separate us, isolate us. I go to that board meeting with you. We present this evidence together. Public, witnessed, on record. Once it's out there, killing me doesn't help him anymore. That's exactly when he'll be most dangerous. When he has nothing left to lose. Then we make sure he has something to lose. Maya looked at Ms. Wu. How many board members would turn on Hendricks if they knew he was connected to murder? Most of them. They're greedy, not suicidal. Ms. Wu's eyes gleamed. You want to flip the board. I want to make sure that when we expose Hendricks, he's completely alone. No allies, no protection, nowhere to run. They had 2 hours before the emergency meeting. Maya spent it on the phone, reaching out to board members individually, hinting at explosive revelations, promising proof of criminal activity that would implicate anyone who stayed loyal to the wrong side. Do-hyun worked his own contacts, pulling in favors, making it clear that the old organization was finished and new alliances would determine who prospered. Ms. Wu handled the press, leaking just enough to create buzz without revealing details. By the time the meeting started, reporters were gathered outside the building, cameras ready. The boardroom was tense when Maya and Do-hyun entered. Parsons sat at the head of the table, confidence radiating. Several board members looked nervous. One seat was conspicuously empty, the seat Hendricks usually occupied. Before we begin, Parsons started, I'd like to address. Actually, Maya interrupted. I'd like to address something first. She walked to the head of the table and placed the folder down. Then she opened it and began laying out photos, documents, evidence. 18 years ago, 12 people died in a fire at the Meridian Club. The investigation concluded it was arson, but no one was ever charged. That's because the lead investigator was paid to close the case quickly and destroy evidence. She looked around the room. Evidence that would have proven the fire was set deliberately to destroy records of criminal activity spanning decades. Records that would have implicated dozens of powerful people in Portland's business community. Parsons had gone pale. Where did you get? The investigator kept copies. He gave them to me yesterday. Hours later, someone tried to kill me. Maya pulled out her phone, showed the shattered rear window and photos she'd taken. That's escalation. That's desperation. That's what happens when someone knows they're about to be exposed. She placed down the final document. Financial records linking Hendricks Mensa to the arson, to the cover-up, to decades of corruption. Hendricks Mensa has been using this company and dozens of others as fronts for criminal activity. He let my father think he was in control while actually pulling strings from behind. When my father tried to go legitimate, Hendricks couldn't allow it. He's been systematically eliminating anyone who threatened his operation, including, now me. The boardroom was silent. Then Do-hyun stood. I'm calling a vote. We remove all existing leadership and institute new governance with full external oversight. Everyone in this room has a choice. Side with transparency and survive, or protect Hendricks and go down with him. You can't do this, Parsons said, but his voice lacked conviction. Actually, he can. Ms. Wu stood. I've been recording this meeting. Every word is being transmitted to federal authorities who are currently obtaining warrants. The press outside is waiting for a statement. And I've already filed paperwork to freeze all company assets pending investigation. The only question now is who cooperates and who obstructs. The board members began to talk among themselves, voices rising. Parsons looked around desperately, realizing his support was evaporating. Then the doors burst open. Hendrix Mensa stood there, flanked by two large men. His pleasant mask was gone, replaced by cold calculation. Impressive, Maya. You've been busy. He walked into the room like he owned it. But you've made a critical error. You assumed I needed this company, these people, any of this structure. I don't. I built my real empire elsewhere. This was always just insurance. He pulled out a phone, pressed a button. Nothing happened. Hendrix's expression flickered. He pressed it again. Looking for the explosive charges you had placed throughout the building? Ms. Wu's voice was calm. We found them this morning. Bomb squad removed them around dawn. Did you really think we wouldn't search for contingencies? Hendrix's face went blank with shock, then twisted with rage. He lunged forward, and Do-hyun moved. Years of living in shadows, of survival instincts honed sharp, came flooding back. He intercepted Hendrix, twisted his arm, forced him down. The two security men moved, but suddenly the room was full of federal agents, pouring through the doors, guns drawn. Hendrix Mensa, you're under arrest for arson, murder, attempted murder, conspiracy, and about 15 other charges we'll figure out later. The lead agent cuffed him efficiently. You have the right to remain silent. The room erupted into chaos. Board members talking over each other, some trying to distance themselves from Hendrix, others immediately lawyering up. Reporters burst in despite security, cameras flashing. Maya stood in the center of it all, watching Hendrix being led away. He looked at her as he passed, and for a moment his mask returned. You won this round, he said quietly. But there are always more players. Always another game. You'll never really be safe. Maybe not, Maya said. But I'll be free. That's more than you'll ever have. They took him away. You made it. If you're here at the end, that means something. Comment below if you think this is really over, or if Maya is right to keep looking over her shoulder. Subscribe if you want to see what she does with her freedom. Hit that like button if you believe some battles are worth fighting even when you can't guarantee winning. And remember, safety is an illusion, but integrity is a choice. 3 months later, Maya stood in a smaller office than Do-hyun's old one. She'd chosen it deliberately. East-facing window, view of the sunrise instead of the sprawling city. The space felt like beginning rather than empire. Kane Consolidated Industries had been restructured, downsized, cleaned. They'd lost partners, lost revenue, lost the sprawling reach they'd once had. But what remained was legitimate, transparent, sustainable. Maya had been appointed interim CEO, though she'd fought the title. At 18, she was technically qualified but practically inexperienced. But the board, newly reformed, heavily monitored, insisted. Ms. Wu served as COO, handling operations while Maya learned. Do-hyun had stepped back entirely, focusing on dismantling what remained of the old network. He worked with federal prosecutors, providing evidence, testimony, turning decades of corruption into cases that would actually stick. It would take years. He'd probably spend some of that time facing charges himself for things he'd done decades ago. But he faced it willingly, knowing it was the only real path to redemption. Lucia had slowly begun speaking to him again. Not forgiveness, not yet, maybe not ever, but acknowledgement, understanding. They'd started having coffee occasionally, awkward meetings where they tried to figure out how to be connected after 18 years of forced separation. Maya's phone buzzed. A message from Do-hyun. How's the empire? She smiled. Typed back. It's not an empire anymore. It's just a company. That's the point. Proud of you. Your mother and I are having lunch today. She wants to talk about you. Fair warning. Try not to traumatize each other. No promises. Maya set down her phone and pulled up her laptop. She had a meeting in 20 minutes with a community development group about partnering on affordable housing projects. It wouldn't make Kane Consolidated rich, but it would make them part of the solution instead of the problem. Her door opened. Ms. Wu entered with coffee and a stack of files. Morning briefing. Good news, bad news, and weird news. Give me weird first. Parsons sent a letter from prison. Says he wants to cooperate with your community initiatives, provide insider information on other corrupt companies. Thinks it will help his parole case. Will it? Probably not. But the information might be useful. I'm having legal review it. Ms. Wu sat down. Bad news. 3 board members resigned. Say the company isn't profitable enough anymore. Good riddance. And good news. We're solvent. Not growing, but stable. Revenue is steady, employee satisfaction is up 40%, and we just got approached by a major investment firm interested in ethical business practices. Ms. Wu smiled. Apparently there's money in integrity. Who knew? Who knew? Maya echoed. They worked through the briefing, discussing projects and proposals, and the 1,000 small decisions that built a company day by day. When Ms. Wu left, Maya stood at her window and watched the sunrise paint Portland in shades of orange and gold. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Her heart jumped, old instincts firing. But when she opened it, the message read, "Saw your interview in Business Quarterly. Impressive work. If you ever need advice from someone who's been through corporate reform, reach out. Robert Chen's daughter, Sarah. My father spoke highly of you before he passed." Maya exhaled. Typed back, "Thank you. I'm sorry for your loss. He did the right thing in the end. So are you. Keep doing it." She would. Not because it was easy or profitable or guaranteed success, but because the alternative, living in shadows, building on lies, perpetuating cycles of corruption, was worse than any failure. Her mother called around noon. "Just finished coffee with your father." Weird to call him that. How was it? Weird. Painful. Necessary. Lucia paused. "He told me about the community housing project." Maya, are you sure you know what you're doing? You're 18. You should be in college, figuring out your life, not running a company. I'm doing both, Mom. Online classes, part-time. It's manageable. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about you taking on too much, trying to fix things that aren't your responsibility to fix. Maya looked around her office. Modest, clean, earned. Maybe they're not my responsibility, but they're my choice. Dad spent 18 years running from his mistakes. You spent 18 years hiding from the truth. I'm not judging either of you. You did what you had to do to survive. But I'm choosing different. I'm choosing to face things head on. Lucia was quiet for a moment. When did you get so wise? I learned from you. You taught me that surviving isn't enough. We have to live. I love you, baby. I love you too, Mom. Evening came with its own challenges. A supplier backed out of a contract, citing concerns about Kane Consolidated's reputation. A former partner spread rumors about financial instability. A journalist called asking pointed questions about Do-hyun's past. Maya handled each issue methodically, transparently, truthfully. She didn't spin or deflect or hide. She acknowledged problems, explained solutions, took responsibility for what they could control, and accepted what they couldn't. It was exhausting, but it was honest. Around 8, Do-hyun stopped by the office. "You're working late." "Learning. There's a difference." Maya gestured to the chair across from her desk. "Sit. Tell me something about the old days that will help me now." He sat, thought for a moment. "The most important lesson I learned was that reputation isn't built in moments. It's built in thousands of small choices. Every time you tell the truth when lying would be easier, every time you do the right thing when the profitable thing is tempting, you build credibility. Slow, invisible, but permanent. And when you lie or cheat, you tear it down faster than you built it. One lie can destroy years of trust." He looked at her. "That's why I'm still paying for choices I made decades ago. That's why this work takes so long. But it's worth it, Maya. Clean slate is worth everything." She smiled. "That's what I named the company initiative. Clean slate. New name, new structure, new everything. Launching next quarter." Pride and grief mixed on his face. "Your mother would be proud. I mean, she is proud. We talked about you today. I heard. She's terrified for you. So am I. You've taken on something most people wouldn't attempt at any age." He leaned forward. "But I also think you're exactly who needs to be doing this. Someone who hasn't been corrupted yet, who still believes change is possible. Don't lose that, Maya. Don't let this world make you cynical." "I'll try. No promises, though. Cynicism seems efficient." He laughed. "It is. That's the problem." They talked for another hour. About business, family, the careful rebuilding of relationships fractured by years of lies. When Do-hyun left, Maya sat in her quiet office and felt the weight of everything she'd taken on. Then she opened her laptop and got back to work. Because the work was never finished. There was always another challenge, another threat, another person who thought corruption was easier than integrity. But Maya had chosen her path, and she'd walk it as long as she could. Her phone buzzed one last time that night. A message from an unknown number. Her stomach dropped. Then she read it. Congratulations on the Business Quarterly feature. Your story is inspiring. I'm a student at Portland State studying business ethics. Would you be willing to speak to our class? We need more examples of people doing it right. Jessica Torres. Maya smiled. Typed back. I'd be honored. Let's set it up. She stood, stretched, gathered her things. The office was dark except for the city lights filtering through her window. Portland spread out below like a promise, full of possibility and danger and hope. Just like her life. She locked up, rode the elevator down, walked out into the cool evening air. Her bike waited at the rack. New bike, old ritual. She rode through the city with wind in her face and weight on her shoulders and knowledge that she'd chosen this. Every bit of it. Not because it was easy or guaranteed or safe, but because it was right. And because building something clean from something dirty was work worth doing. She made it home as the city settled into its nighttime rhythm. Lucia had dinner waiting. Nothing fancy, just the two of them in their small apartment that felt less like hiding now and more like home. How was work? Lucia asked. Hard. Exhausting. Good. Maya sat down, realized she was starving. We're launching a new initiative. Clean slate. Complete restructure. New name eventually. Full commitment to ethical business. That's ambitious. That's necessary. Maya smiled. Besides, I learned from the best. You survived 18 years of being terrified and still raised me to believe the world could be better. That's the hardest work there is. Lucia's eyes filled. I'm so proud of you. And so scared for you. I know. I'm scared too. But we're doing it anyway. They ate dinner together, talking about small things and big dreams. Lucia told stories about the early days, when Maya was a baby and everything felt impossible, but they'd survived anyway. Maya talked about the future, about plans and possibilities, and the slow work of redemption. Later that night, Maya lay in bed staring at the ceiling. She thought about Do-hyun crossing time itself, about Lucia surviving years of fear, about 12 people who died in a fire meant to hide secrets. She thought about Robert Chen choosing truth over safety, about Ms. Wu choosing integrity over profit, about board members who'd walked away from corruption even when it cost them. She thought about all the small choices that built toward something larger. And she thought about tomorrow, another day of work, another chance to choose right over easy, another opportunity to build instead of break. It wasn't the life she'd imagined at 18, but it was the life she'd chosen. And that made all the difference. We made it clean, she thought. Not perfect, not finished, but clean. Honest work, honest money, honest future. It was enough. Wow, we really went through it with these characters, didn't we? If you enjoyed the ride, don't be shy. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I appreciate you watching, and I'll be back with another story before you know it.